I'm here. We're going to actually take a look at the Espar D2 heater, some of the reasons for smoking, and some of the maintenance procedures on how to properly do atomizer screens, fuel filters, and ventilation holes. So first off, this is our D2. When you go into the truck, you're going to just basically take your end cap off, take the two clips, pull the cover off. In your heater, I want to show you some internal components. This is the burner chamber that's within the heater. So as you're seeing it, this is an igniter. You can see this boot is this boot. And this igniter sits directly in that hole, is screwed into that hole. If you ever have a heater that is smoking, and especially if it's smoking during startup, or if it's smoking during running, that tells you a couple different things. First off, if one's smoking, it's usually either an atomizer screen, a ventilation hole, or a fuel filter. If it continues to smoke while it's running, the atomizer screen is now disengaged and the fuel filter is usually a primary reason. So first, I would like to cover the fuel filter. All of these reasons will make a heater bellow white smoke. When you go to your fuel pump, there's a cap on the inlet side. Very important that fuel pumps must be mounted 15 to 35 degrees up. When you pull the cap off, there's a filter on the inlet side. Take a pick, reach in, and pull the filter out. If that filter is partially plugged, it will give you temperature dependent no starts. The colder it is, the less it runs, and the filter will make that heater bellow white smoke. Replace the filter. Other reasons would be atomizer screens. Atomizer screen comes in a kit with an insertion tool. To do an atomizer screen, you take the cover off, and there's a screw that holds the control unit down. You unscrew that screw, pinch the tabs together, and your control unit will release. Slide the grommet out of the side. All of this work is done in the truck. This is not something that you pull a heater for. You're taking the control unit up so you can unplug your igniter, which is the brown and white wires. Don't be too concerned on the way it plugs in because it is keyed. Now roll the boot off, take the wires and push them down. Igniters can be fragile at times, and if you pull the boot off, you can break the wires. There are a couple ways of having tools. One, the Espar socket is a 12mm 6-sided socket with a slot. This is a one-time use item. Preferably, if you have a 12mm deep well socket, you can cut your own slot in or purchase a 12mm 6-sided socket with a slot to accommodate the wires. When you go to take your igniter out, put your socket on. Taking igniters out are a two-handed job. They're not in very tight, but the section of the igniter between the collars is ceramic and very, very fragile. You must hold your socket square when you break it free. Take your ratchet off, unscrew your igniter, remove the igniter. It's helpful to take some Scotch-Brite and polish it, but that's all you need to do to your igniters. Igniters are not a service item. To remove your igniter, if your heater is smoking and it is in there because you're replacing it because your heater will not start, it will get carboned up in there and it'll be difficult to remove. Usually if you take a pick, a straight pick, get behind the wall of the igniter that is just pressed in there and work it free from the sides of the journal wall. Then take a pair of needle nose, a narrow tipped pair of needle nose, go in, grab into it, twist and pull. These do not come out easily at times if you're waiting to do them as a reactive maintenance versus proactive maintenance. If you're doing it as proactive and a preventive maintenance, usually you can take a simple pick, slide down in there, and pull the igniter out. Take a wire brush and clean out the journal. When you're cleaning the journal out, you're not looking at cleaning where the atomizer is sitting. You're looking to try to get down into the chamber. Carbons start to build at the base of the atomizer screen. So you're looking to try to clean that out of there to prolong the life of your burner chambers. Also, extremely important, take a pick before you put your atomizer back in. Take a short 90-degree pick, set it down in the journal, and you're looking at getting it into the ventilation hole. You must clean the ventilation hole. If your atomizer is gunked up, the hole will be plugged. That hole is just as important as the atomizer because 100% of your combustion air goes through that hole. So you're going to stick your pick down in the journal, only about a quarter inch down in, through the wall, and just shake it around, just to make sure there's no debris in that hole. Then you're going to take your new atomizer screen. There's a set of welds on your atomizer screen. Take those welds, face them away from your fuel line or towards the center of the heater. Place it in there, push down, that just sets the depth. Then reassemble your heater. But take just as much care putting the igniter in as you did taking it out. They are just snugged into place. They are not super tight. So snug it into place with your socket, but once again, you must use two hands to do this. If you use one hand, your socket will bend on you and you will break your igniter. So tighten it in and reassemble your heater back to original. The igniter pushes into the journal. There is a pocket here for your wires to be slid into, and it snaps back down into place. Your clips come into place. You slide the grommet back into the slot. You take your screw and you must snug that screw down. Take your boot, slide the boot by holding the wires so there's no stress on the connections. Push that boot down, seal, and you've completed your atomizer screen. Your cover then goes on an angle and it has a slot that slides forward, and you're finished. If you're replacing an atomizer screen, you should seriously think about doing your fuel filter. If you're doing a fuel filter, you should seriously think about doing your atomizer screen. They are both maintenance items. Both items will make your heater bellow white smoke. If it's smoking at startup, it's usually an atomizer screen, a ventilation hole, or a fuel filter. If your heater starts and it continues to smoke while operating, it's usually a fuel filter. Thank you very much. I hope that helps.